we've gone through a patch of hectic news flow.
Yeah.
Budget, sell-off in Adani group of companies, earnings, FIS selling. Hopefully things will now settle down on the news front. So as now the budget adjustment, budget views, budget analysis, that's behind us. Markets know directionally which way the budget is going to move the economy. Second, you look at Adani group of companies. Adani group of companies, from a market standpoint, there are few things which matter. The collateral damage in the price, I think that's hard to call. Will they fall more or will they start bottoming out? Second, the earnings season. Markets have completely ignored mid-cap numbers, large-cap numbers, and today is again a big day for numbers because you got State Bank of India, which has been in performing stock, and then you got ITC. So purely from a market standpoint, I guess now markets will change gear. The budget adjustment is over. Adani group of stocks, they will continue to hog all the limelight, but in terms of the collateral damage, what it had on the lenders, what it had on the banks, I think that also is getting marginalized because banks, they rallied yesterday. And third, I guess, is now what will happen to the aggregate big picture at the global level. So it will be back to basics, if I may so say the word, because it's just been a hectic news flow, puzzling stock trends, up and down in the market, too much of yes and no when it comes to price action.
Absolutely, and I'm just looking at the big tech earnings overnight that came out in the US equity markets, which, by the way, had a rip-roaring handover. But the guidance has disappointed for the big tech companies, be it Apple, be it Amazon, or for that matter, Alphabet. Meta has reported its first annual sales decline since its listing. Apple, the revenues are down about 5% on a year-on-year basis. They've generated $34 billion in operating cash flow, however, and Alphabet as well has managed to miss on earnings as well as revenue, as YouTube has actually fallen short of what markets were anticipating. It's posted just 1% growth for the fourth quarter of 2022. That's the calendar year that they follow. But having said that, it seems that a lot of price damage, Nikunj, at least for big tech companies, would be in the price. I mean, overnight you've got a 2.5% move coming in on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, Aisha, frankly, it's one of the phases of the market globally that markets always know what's coming next. So even though the numbers which we've got from big tech companies, they've not been very strong, there is a guidance cut, there are layoffs which are occupying all the headline. Most of the stocks, at least the big tech US stocks, they've actually rallied, and they've rallied in this year. Nasdaq has been an outperforming index. So from a market standpoint, it purely means that the worst of the price action in global tech, at least big tech, that is behind us. Will that have a spillover effect on Indian technology stocks, especially some of the growth and some of the product companies? Well, historically, we've seen that even though these companies are different, it's the trajectory which matters. And IT stocks post numbers, they've actually started outperforming. If you look at the YTD chart, let's look at it for the Nifty index and the Bank Nifty. The outperformance, I think, lies with the IT index, even though commentary by and large has been mixed. So that's the Nifty for you. That's yesterday's graph. That's this year Nifty is down 2.7%. Let's look at the IT index. The IT index, that's the Bank Nifty down 5%, and the IT index is up 6%. So the point I'm trying to say here is that even though big tech companies, they disappoint on the earnings front, Indian IT companies, they've disappointed and numbers have been mixed. IT as a group has started outperforming after almost a year of underperformance, and that is also coinciding with what is happening in US tech companies. Also, markets are nervous about companies which essentially have debt on them, given what's happened to Adani group of stocks. So that pocket is underperforming. Markets are nervous about what will happen in case inflationary fear come back. So there is a change in the market template. Globally, big tech is making a comeback. Locally, some of the technology stocks are catching up.
Yep, that's being seen as a trend when it comes to the entire IT basket. But that aside, lots of news flow as well to focus on, and you've got the entire Adani group of stocks yet again in the spotlight. And remember, there's been a massive rout that we've seen across that entire group of stocks, but now the NSE has put Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports and Ambuja Cements under ASM, which is additional surveillance measures. effective, that framework, effective February 3rd, Nikunj, in order to curb short selling?
Aman, what is puzzling for me is that I was just purely looking at the volume action in Adani Enterprise. The Adani Enterprise stock yesterday saw volumes which were almost 6 times more than that of Reliance. And I'm using Reliance as a benchmark to establish, uh, the data here. And that, in a sense, is very clear that right now there is rampant speculation which is happening in some of these stocks. Given the price action, volume action, there you see. That's the volume action in Adani Enterprises, 6 times more than that of Reliance. The free float of Reliance is 50% and the free float of Adani is only 24%. But the volume action in Adani Enterprises is 6 times more. Isn't that amazing? Now, what the exchange has done is that they've increased margins, which means that if you're buying the stocks where the ASM margins have gone higher, and they could go higher if volatility does not subside, you will have to shell out more money. So if you're a short seller, you automatically will have to shell out more money, and similarly if you want to buy also on an intraday basis, you shell out more money. Could this lead to a squeeze, and could this curb the volatility? That is something what I think needs to be addressed, and this is a factor which really would be at play today when markets will open. The ASM adjustment will happen in some of the Adani Group stocks depending on the positioning of investors stroke traders here.